This is Robert with Pioneer Smokehouses, and today we're just going to do a little a demo on what we call a charcoal snake. So there's a couple of reasons why you might want to use a charcoal snake. Basically, it's a way to use a kettle smoker like a Weber grill as a smoker. Another thing that you can do is you could just use any charcoal grill, that like a barrel style grill or anything like that, in a smoker also. What you'll want to do is put the charcoal off to one side and the food off to the other, and maybe even use a little bit of a piece of tin foil to shield the food from the direct heat. And then that way you get the smoke to fill the chamber, and then you'll get heat and smoke together without getting a straight burn from the charcoal, because like I think it's infrared heat will come through and grill the charcoal, or grill the food, but you can rotate the food around also to compensate for that. On a longer one it won't work. So what we're going to do first off is we're just going to lay out some charcoal, and we're going to talk about this real quick. I don't use on a daily basis anything crazy. This is a good solid charcoal that's affordable all the time, but what I recommend the most is their pecan charcoal. So it has chips of wood right in it, and you don't have to add any, and it burns really good. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to take some charcoal and we're going to lay it out around the edges, around the outside. And you want the charcoal to touch each other all the way around. It doesn't have to be like tight, but you definitely want it touching. And I try to make sure that on that first row that I get all of the really good pieces on the outside. And just for this demo, we're only going to do a half a snake. And the reason is that I don't want it to burn forever. All this charcoal, you want it to touch, so you want to overlap it just a little bit. And just a second here on this. I buy these kind of cheap little grills just so I can start charcoal for my stick burners or anything else, like so I can take and put a coffee can in there, get some charcoal going, and then dump it into the other grill. I don't actually use these very often, and so if I see one that's on closeout, clearance, or at a thrift store, I buy it. So then I take the broken pieces and I go to the inside, and they don't all have to be broken pieces, but the broken pieces are shorter, and so they work better around the corners. And I'll take a picture in a second here, but I just want to lay these out really quick on the first row. And so that's the first level, and I'm going to go ahead and take a picture, and then we'll put that on the screen. So if you see here, you can see the charcoal goes around in a circle there. Now, I would go all the way around and leave a gap from the beginning to the end. That way, it only burns in one direction. And then, what we do is we start setting the second layer on. So, by doing that, we just come across the middle, like that, and we lay that whole second layer on there. This one is a little slippery, so I'm just going to put some charcoal on the opposite side to kind of weigh it down just a little bit. That's not there to burn, that's just there to keep the thing from sliding around, because normally you want to go most of the way around to balance out the weight. Alright, so then we just keep going around the top and just kind of create a little mountain range, shall we say. And then I'll show you that. Take another little picture there. So now if you see there, you can see that there is a second row across the top. So you've got the two rows around the bottom, and then the third row is on the top. And like I said, we're just doing this one, looks like a crescent moon. So you can start this in a lot of different ways. You could start a couple of pieces of charcoal on the ground if you want. But what I like to do is I like to take a couple of match lights and I put them in there just like that. So what's going to happen is that I will light those up and get them going. and then as they go, they'll move through. I want those to be completely lit before I put any food on, because I don't want the taste to get on there. So now, before we light it, I'm going to talk about this. Now, you can use some chunks of wood to add flavor in there. One of the things you don't want to do is you don't want to touch the chunks together. So you'll take a few chunks and you'll put it in. And then you're going to space it. And I'm going to put in 4 piles here. And the reason that you don't want them to touch is because if they start on fire, you don't want them to burn all the way around the outside edge of your charcoal. If they do that, it'll light your whole charcoal thing up, and then you will have defeated the whole purpose. But by just putting a few in here like this, we can get them to burn and smoke. And they will increase the temperature just a little bit, but not enough that you're going to notice the difference. And then I'll put a couple on this side too. Just here and there, just, you know, fill in the gaps. And then I'm going to take a picture really quick. Pushed the wrong button. All right, and then I'm going to show you the starting really fast, and then we're going to take a little break and come back to it in a minute. So I usually use this, but you can use any lighter to light the matchlight charcoals. So I'm just going to leave that sit there for a minute, and we'll go ahead and take a break. And then once they get lit and going, then I'll show you some more. All right, so I've got it lit now, and I want to take a minute to show you what's happening here. You can see all the smoke, and that smoke is mostly from the assorted chips that I put in there. So the charcoal itself is not smoking, but the chips, if you just put them in there and stage them in between, they'll end up smoking as you go. So I did move, one forward because I wanted to get a reaction right away. But we're going to go ahead and let this run for a little while longer. And then we'll take a look in about an hour and we'll see how it's progressed. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. And one thing I do want to mention is that if you want to use something like this to provide smoke for another device, it would be real easy for you to add something like a metal dryer duct or another type of tube. And when I say that, I mean, if you look at something like this, you get a flexible metal dryer duct, and you can just attach it to this with a couple of screws, or you can use a piece of ducting from for a floor vent or something like that, and you can direct it out however you want to direct it. But at any rate, you can see the smoke is coming right out of that hole, and it's also going to be warm, so you can direct smoke and heat into a barrel or even a box if you wanted to, if you used a longer tube to cool the smoke down. So we'll be back in about an hour after we let this have a chance to burn through, so you can see what it looks like when it's burning. All right, so we've given this some time to go, and it really is a slow burning process. But if you can see, we're getting a lot of smoke out of here. So that means that smoke would be going really good in your charcoal smoker, whether it be your Weber or whatever you're using. Now, if you want to go a little bit further, you can soak your wood chips. I'm going to tell you right now that there's a bunch of different schools of thought, but I am not a fan of soaked wood chips. I don't like the flavor that it adds. I like the dry wood chips. I'd rather just use some chunkier dry stuff and spread it out a little bit better than put the wet ones in. But you can see here, and I'll take a picture really quick, that it's it looks like the picture I've gotten the smoldering, and you can see that all the smoke is coming mostly from this edge right here where the smoldering is happening. So the charcoal is burning through and the smoldering is happening on the edges. So that's exactly what we want to see. So we've gone through this and it's been about an hour, maybe 50 minutes maybe. And so we've only burned 6 pieces of charcoal, and which means that you're burning about 6 per hour. What I've got here is about 4 hours worth of charcoal, and on a small grill like this, you're obviously not going to get 12 hours. But if you had a large Weber kettle, you could easily get in there 9 hours, maybe up to 12. And if you wanted to, in the middle of your process, you could actually load more onto the end of your snake. So as soon as you've gotten your snake halfway through burned, you could clear a little bit and then reload and get it going. It will flare up if it's open. I noticed that earlier. So you can get it to blow out. But that is the one advantage to putting the to having soaked wood chips, is that it flares up hardly at all. But anyway, so this is a tip for how you can slow smoke something in a regular charcoal grill. So I hope you found that interesting, and there are some links for some things in the description below, which are affiliate links like charcoal and whatnot. But for most point, this is just an informative little project for you. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.